Hey everybody, welcome back to another round of astronomy. And yeah, let's get going. Displayed for you here is the Pleiades star cluster, which is sometimes also referred to as the Seven Sisters. You'll notice that they are a group of stars that are relatively new and they are relatively warm, hence the blue color. They're located in the same region of space, and so they really serve as a nice object for looking at for budding astronomers. In any case, I'll show you how you can locate those today in Star Chart 2. Let's get at it. So, you already know and love Star Chart 1. I've displayed the Ursa Major, the Big Dipper right here, and I've labeled the stars that you should now have memorized. For sake of space on the screen, I have not put in the constellation names, which you should also be familiar with. So let's go ahead and now, as promised, expand off the first star chart. What we're going to do is first think about how we arrive at Castor and Pollux. We took the star where the handle connects to the bowl of the Big Dipper. We ran catty corner through the lower right star in the bowl, and then we kept going something like 30 or 40 degrees. And then we arrive at an area where Castor and Pollux are located. That being said, keep going along that line. Go about the same distance. So the distance that you had to travel to get to Castor and Pollux, go about that distance past Castor and Pollux. You will arrive at a group of 3 stars within about 10 degrees of each other. Okay. Nice in a line, very bright in a line. That is known as Orion's belt. Okay. And you need to be able to identify that. Once you kind of go outside and you practice it once or twice, it's really hard not to see Orion's belt so long as Orion is out in the night sky. In fact, some people refer to as Orion as the winter signpost. Okay. It's always out in the winter. Now, I will give you 2 named stars in Orion, but you need to really have the general shape of Orion also memorized. It's so prominent that just having the general shape of the 3 stars in the belt and then the 4 stars surrounding that belt. The 2 stars that I will name for you and give you, one of them is the lower right star, right down here, which is known as Regal. The upper left star is known as Betelgeuse. Okay, so upper left Betelgeuse, lower right Regal. And go out as you're practicing the star chart and Orion becomes visible. I encourage you, go out and look at Regal, look at Betelgeuse, and kind of look back and forth between those 2, because you should be able to see a difference in color. That image I had of the Pleiades, that was not, that was real color. It wasn't like somebody did some artistic rendering. Those stars actually appear to be more bluish, whereas the background stars are redder. Okay? Same thing here. I won't tell you which one's which, but go out and look and see if you can actually see that color difference between Betelgeuse and Regal. Okay? So those both belong to the constellation Orion. Now what we're going to do, let's go ahead and follow Orion's belt. We're going to take the belt, we're going to pass through the 3 stars, and we're going to go something like 20 degrees, 20 to 30 degrees following the path of the belt. Okay? You're going to arrive at a star in the constellation Taurus. Okay? If you go 20 degrees past that, if you keep going, okay, you'll run into the Pleiades. Okay? So take Orion's belt, go 2 fists along the direction of Orion's belt. You'll get to the bright star constellation the bright star Aldebaran in the constellation Taurus, the bull. Okay? Keep going another 20 degrees past that, and you'll see that faint cluster, that faint hazy cluster of stars known as the Pleiades. Now, some pop culture for you. Why not? Let's go for it. You see the Pleiades driving around all the time. Yeah. What car manufacturer uses stars as its emblem? Excuse me, hole in my lip. Yeah. Subaru. The Japanese name for the Pleiades is Subaru. And so that's where the Subaru icon comes from. Okay? I believe I read somewhere that in ancient Greece, you used to use the Pleiades as kind of a gauge of how good your eyes were. If you looked at the Pleiades and could pick out this individual stars and count them, that was indicative of how good your eyesight was. You say, well, I can see 2, but I can't see the rest. Okay, you have poor eyesight. Oh, I can see all 7 and I see a couple of extras. Well, oh, you have really good eyesight. Okay, so that's where that comes from. Okay, next up, we are going to go back to Orion, and we are now going to start with Regal and pass through the lower foot of Orion. So the unnamed star that I have not given you. And we're going to go along that direction, opposite the Pleiades, about 20 to 30 degrees into this region of the night sky. Okay? That you will run into a star named Sirius. Okay? And it's in the constellation Canis Major, the big dog. Sirius is the brightest star, visually speaking, in the night sky. Okay? So if you ever want to know, okay, is this a star or is this a planet? Compare its brightness with Sirius. If it's brighter than Sirius, chances are it's a planet, unless it's moving really quickly and then it's a satellite. Okay, good. Oh yes, some more pop culture. Where have I heard the term Sirius before? Yeah. Oh yeah, Harry Potter, right? Yeah, Sirius Black. And oh, incidentally, Sirius Black can transform himself into a dog, right? So J.K. Rowling is pulling some of the astronomy stuff here, right? Sirius is Canis Major. Sirius turns into a dog. Okay? Of course, there's always Sirius Radio, whose emblem is a dog with a star for its eye. Okay? And sometimes, yes, Sirius is labeled the dog star. Okay? So a little bit for you there. Okay, next up. We are going to start with the upper right shoulder of Orion. We're going to pass through Betelgeuse, and we're going to go something like 30 or 40 degrees. So we're going to end up in this night sky right about here. I'm going to take out that green line just to make it visually easier to see. Okay? Incidentally, if you're really interested, this star right here, this upper right star of Orion, is known as Bellatrix. Okay? And of course, you already have Regulus, you already have Arcturus. Okay, so J.K. Rowling is pulling star names for some of those characters. Draco is a constellation name. Okay, so yeah, if you're ever interested. Okay, so we're going to start with the upper right corner of Orion, Bellatrix. We're going to pass through Betelgeuse. We're going to go 30 to 30 degrees in this region of the sky. Okay, so take that out, go there. And you run into a star called Procyon. Okay? And because there is a Canis Major, that would indicate that there is also a Canis Minor. Okay? So Procyon is in Canis Minor. Now, if you have trouble remembering that, okay, Orion is referred to as the Great Hunter. Okay? And a hunter needs his hunting dogs. So you have Orion, the Great Hunter, flanked by the two hunting dogs, Canis Major and Canis Minor. Okay? Okay, so those should all be visible, say, starting late fall and continuing until early summer. Okay? Maybe early spring, late spring, early summer. There we go. So right now, depending on what time of the year it is, you should be able to go out and see either the lower half of the star chart, okay, or if it's more in the fall, summer area, then you should be able to see this upper half of the star chart. Okay. Well, we're going to deal with a little bit more of this upper half. We've got a big blank canvas up here. Let's go ahead and go at that. So rather than taking this, we're going to start with where the star connects to the bull again. And rather than going kitty corner through Castor and Pollux to find Orion, we're going to start where the handle attaches to the bull. We're going to pass through Polaris. And that distance is something like 40 degrees, 30 to 40 degrees. Okay? We will double the distance. Okay? So however far it is to Polaris, go about the same amount past Polaris. You're going to run into a series of 5 stars. Okay? I won't give you the names for them. Again, just have the general shape memorized. You're going to have a series of 5 stars that are going to look like a lopsided M. Okay? Or, depending on the year, if the whole sky has rotated, then it's going to be a lopsided W. Okay? We'll say a lopsided M for this purpose. Okay? That lopsided M is known as the constellation Cassiopeia. Okay? And again, I don't know, actually, maybe I haven't mentioned this. You just need to be phonetically close. Okay? For some reason, Cassiopeia gives me fits every time I try to spell it. I get that there's something about having 3 vowels in a row that just should not be allowed. Okay, that just, yeah, it should be banned from English. Okay. Of course, I guess this wasn't English words in the first place. Okay. Any case, lopsided W, Cassiopeia. Okay. Now we will use Cassiopeia to navigate to another feature of the night sky. Okay. So I'm going to take the large triangle. Okay. So I'll call this the large triangle. I'll call that one the small triangle. Okay. And I'm going to take the inside 2 stars of the large triangle. And those are going to point a direction. If I go about 30 degrees, it will point to another asterism. Okay? So right about here. So I'll take the big stars, the stars of the big triangle, the inside 2. I'm going to use that to direct myself 30 degrees in the night sky. And when I do that, I will land in the middle of 4 really bright stars. Okay? These stars will be separated by maybe about 5 degrees on each side. So you'll get a square of roughly 5 to 10 degrees in side length. And that is an asterism called the Great Square of Pegasus. Now again, the Great Square of Pegasus, it'll be visible from late fall, or let's say late spring to late fall. And yes, we're going to use the Great Square of Pegasus to navigate to a couple of more stars. Last feature, and then we'll call it quits. Okay. So the last feature I'm going to give to you is the position in space from which we measure objects, or the other objects. Okay. So we'll start with Polaris. So we're starting with Polaris. And thinking about that big triangle of Cassiopeia, I'm going to take the outside star, the one that we did not use for any directional purposes yet. Okay? And I imagine running a line starting from Polaris, or celestial north. I'm going to run it past that unused star in Cassiopeia and past the edge of the Great Square of Pegasus. So I'm just going to come straight up this way. Okay? That line in space, is referred to as right ascension 0. It is the agreed upon position in space from which we measure the angular distance around a circle. So if we want to specify where in space, let's say, Betelgeuse is, okay, we start here and we think about how far around do we have to sweep until we reach Betelgeuse. That's something like, I don't know, 120 degrees, something like that. Okay. Or how far around do we have to sweep in order to arrive at Arcturus? We'll say that's maybe 240 degrees. So it's the agreed upon 0 position from which we have to measure around the circle. Okay? Good. Last thing, And again, this one is an asterism. So you've gotten an asterism, the great square of Pegasus. Here's another asterism, and it's down where Betelgeuse, Sirius, and Procyon are. Okay? Betelgeuse, Sirius, and Procyon form roughly an equilateral triangle in space. Okay? And because it is visible in winter, it is an asterism known as the winter triangle. Okay? And because I say the winter triangle, you could probably guess that there's also going to be a summer triangle. Good. There you go. So that's it for star chart 2. So for a summary, we've given you 5 named stars. You have Betelgeuse, Regal, Sirius, Procyon, and Aldebaran. 5 named stars. You have 7 constellations: Orion, Canis Major and Minor, Taurus, Cassiopeia, and I guess we'll say the great square of Pegasus. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, and asterisms. Okay, yeah, there we go. And then the last thing I'll say is you have 2 features. I'll say the right ascension 0, and I'll say the Pleiades are kind of more features. They're not stars, they're not constellations, they're not asterisms, they're, something else. Okay? So there you go. Star chart 1 is listed here, white text on black background. Star chart 2 is white background with black text. You are now responsible for all of those. So when I say reproduce the star chart, I mean you have to do not only star chart 2, but also star chart 1. Okay? And yes, it is possible by the time we get to star chart 3 that you can put correct things down and still get 0 points. Okay? Okay, good. Well, that's it. That's all I have for you for right now. Keep up the good work. Go outside and practice, and I'll see you next time.